3 o'clock, roll call.
Mayor present.
Glasser present?
Strew present.
Hauge present.
Tom present. We'll have, welcome to the new member, please. I'm Herb.
Thank you very much, Herb. Much
That's
appreciated.
good. Okay, we'll have a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we need to properly introduce the new member. Properly introduce the new member. Okay. Properly.
Thank you. Okay, we're having an organizational meeting, which everybody knows our new member. Could you say something about yourself, please?
Certainly. Hi, I'm David Haugiel. I've moved into Cape Charles last April, and part of the reason that I'm on this board, amongst other things, ever since I was born, I've been living in houses. The oldest one, 1604, and the newest one is the one that I have on Capitol Hill in DC now, which is 1847, along with the one here, which is 1895. So I've grown up in old houses, watching them be developed, etc., and in old communities, and I'm keen to help Cape Charles maintain its history and at the same time embrace the growth that it's going through at the same time too. So balance those two, and that's why I'm here. Looking forward to it very much.
Welcome to Cape Charles, and welcome to the Historic Review Board.
Thank you.
Right now, I guess we'll have election of officers as the agenda calls for. So we need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman and secretary.
Do we have to?
Do I hear anybody? Any nominations?
Nominate Herb to continue as chairman.
Herb's been nominated to continue as chairman. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now we have an election of vice chairman. I nominate Martin Myers.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So on. Secretary, I nominate Tracy.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any public comment?
Excuse me.
That's a public comment.
So was that in
Tracy, do we have any
response,
public comments?
was that in response to my nomination or Herb's nomination, that phone call you just got?
We do not have any public comments. I have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'm going to back us up a minute because we skipped over 3B. We skipped over 3B.
Oh, review, discussion, and adoption of bylaws.
You guys really don't want to adopt these bylaws.
No, we do not. Okay, the adoption of the bylaws, and I hope everybody has a copy and have read in its entirety, which it's pretty simple. I think, Katie, did you have anything to do with writing these? You did a good job.
Yes, I did. I was going to wait to see if that was a compliment or not.
You know, coming from me, it would be a compliment.
So, yes, I drafted these. What we've highlighted in yellow were some of the changes from the last revision you have seen. I will
Everybody
say
want to take,
we need to make one correction because we're saying we meet the third Thursday, is that what we meet? Of each month in the town hall at 6 p.m. I still think, I know, that's what we need to. Third Tuesday, sorry. at 6 PM. So I think we still need a conversation as to what our start time of our meetings will be. I just want to make sure we still have that conversation this evening.
Can we do it now?
Yeah, you can do it right now because
Okay.
they are part of your bylaws.
Okay, as part of these bylaws, we had discussed having the meetings at 3 o'clock, which we've had 2 at 3, and I would propose that we continue them at 3, if it's all right with the rest of the board.
3 is a challenge for me.
And
I'm
for
in
me.
favor of, staff, everyone else involved being able to get out of here that's not all night by all means, but if we could split the difference, or even 4 o'clock, so I've got to pick up my kids at 3, I've got just, the usual juggling act.
I'm with Martin on that. The later in the day for me, purely because got regular work, they would be better.
I agree.
I just prefer daylight, because
Well,
some of this building doesn't lend itself to egress and access.
It'll be
night.
daylight in a couple
Yeah.
months.
Well, I think that's why we switched it to 3, so that we could have the meetings with more daylight, and it's,
Yeah.
But all the other councils meet at 6 or 6:30.
yeah, but
How
the
are we
reason that-
different?
one of the main reasons that I wanted to change it to 3 is so that we don't really burden the staff any more than they're burdened. They meet at 6 o'clock for the town council, they do any other of the committees, the planning commissions at 6, and I was trying to just give them a little lightening on their burden.
Could we take Martin's suggestion and
I would be more than-
Yeah,
move it
sometimes
to
it's
4?
hard for
The-
me.
4:30.
If we need to make a a variance for the winter, just have it at 4 during daylight savings and
And I think-
and change it for daylight if you need to, but
I think it may be a burden on applicants at some point
yeah,
too,
it is.
because a lot of them work and can't get out.
Yeah.
Some people do work.
I work, jeez,
Yeah.
jeez.
No, I agree with maybe going to 4. Do we want to make a
Michael, 4?
motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we change the start time to 4 o'clock.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Katie, did you write that?
I got it.
From 6 to 4, but the days will stay the same.
Yes, days stay the same. And so you would like to do that consistently all year long, or would we again like to set summer hours, say,
If it's not too complicated for staff, I would just as soon, let's take advantage of daylight saving time and do 6.
It's fine for me.
And then in the winter hours, is that
At
all right,
4.
Michael?
okay,
We'll go to 4.
we can advertise that and publicize this.
Don't you think that accommodates everybody then?
I think it
I
does.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that would make it too hard on the applicants either. It gives you another hour.
Okay.
We want to
That
do
works for me.
a 2-hour difference?
Yeah, 4 to
6 o'clock in
6.
the summer and 4 o'clock during Michaelmas time.
4 in the winter
Yep.
and 6
Old
during
British term.
daylight saving time.
I know it well.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as daylight savings
Haven't
comes,
been Michael
we
for us.
switch to 6.
Right.
Which will be, I think, April?
It's April, so we really only have one more month.
Yes.
That would really be a burden on anybody at 3 o'clock.
No, not 3, 4.
4.
4.
I guess just, we're talking about everything else, but if it's about keeping staff here later trying to fit this in, do we really want to switch it back to 6? Why don't we just keep it at 4?
It's your call. It's at your pleasure.
We don't have the 4-hour meetings we used to have.
No, we
at
don't.
least,
So-
The other advantage to your point about it being 4 o'clock, it's easier for,
Consistent.
the later it is, the easier it is for anybody that applies for this board to actually join from work, but also for applicants, it's easier to plan around, not necessarily be during the day, because it's the same issue. Some of those applicants, have to work during the day, et cetera, as well.
So Should I make a motion that we keep it at 4 o'clock year round?
It's your pleasure.
My preference would be to, you know, have it at
What
6
about
where
you,
possible. I think it's
Michael?
easier, but that's just me.
Either way, it's fine with me.
Okay, 4 in the summer, or 4 in the winter, 6 in the summer.
That's what we have, correct, Katie?
That's what we
That's
just
what we have
voted
now,
on.
yeah.
Just voted, so.
Right, that's what we voted on. Everybody happy?
That would be best for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
If that's okay with you.
Mayor, yes.
Glasser, yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Herb Tom, yes.
Okay.
So carried.
So I don't think there were any other items that were highlighted that needed to be revisited unless you wish to. Otherwise, I think we are in a position we would recommend you take action on your revised bylaws.
Okay, is that what it requires?
Yes, we need a vote.
I actually did have a question. I couldn't find in the bylaws where it said that a member of the board must be a full-time resident in Cape Charles. Does it say that somewhere?
No.
Okay,
Because that's not stated in the ordinance for the historic district overlay, and we have pulled that criteria directly out of the ordinance and put it in here. And right now, that's 2.2, where it does indicate that criteria is demonstrated interest and knowledge in the historical and architectural development of the town, and when possible, be a licensed architect or engineer, planning commission member, or licensed building contractor.
So,
so I had someone that I know that applied and was told they were not eligible because they were not a full-time resident of Cape Charles.
That may be a criteria that the town council employs or utilizes.
That was for this board.
I understand that. That may be a criteria the town council utilizes when they select people for consideration of employment. Because typically, if you're going to represent any town board, you tend to be a resident of that community. So I can tell you when I used to run Northampton County, we made a certain that any appointments we had or people considered for appointments, they're residents of Northampton County, not Accomack County, for example.
No, I'm just saying that a lot of people have a house here and a house someplace else.
So,
yes, Paul?
Look at paragraph 2-1, which requires a citizen of Cape Charles.
no, thank you, Paul. I didn't even go
Thank you,
to
Paul.
that section.
Thank you.
Must be citizens.
Must
There
be
you go.
citizens of Cape Charles. What
Yeah, that's what I'm
constitutes
looking
being a
at.
citizen?
It says citizen or resident.
resident
Right.
of local, yeah, 3,
Okay.
So,
all right.
Because I know for a fact in the past, there have been people that were not citizens
well,
that were on the board.
it sounds like maybe that's a conversation you should have with the town council and what they consider a citizen of Cape
Okay.
Charles and how they deal with dual residency.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so now we require a vote, board vote,
a board vote
to adopt
to
the
adopt these bylaws.
bylaws.
Yes.
Okay,
And we're gonna change the time, right?
Yes.
Okay,
you've already changed the time in the
Yes.
thing.
okay.
Okay, so can somebody entertain a motion that we accept and adopt the Historic District Review Board bylaws that have been revised as of 2/15/22?
I'll make the motion that
We're
we
gonna have a
adopt the
second.
bylaws.
Second the motion.
Oh,
I second the motion.
All in favor, roll call?
Mayor, yes.
Glasser, yes.
Strube, yes?
Haugiel, yes.
Tom, yes. So ordered.
Okay, now you're on to 5A, the approval of the agenda format.
I lost my paper. Okay,
I make a-
5A.
Motion, we approve the agenda format?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
A
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sir?
He said aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, we're moved on to item 6, unfinished business. 213 Mason Avenue,
Madison.
Madison Avenue. I'm getting these glasses. For certificate of appropriateness. Screened-in porch.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Jim Outland, and Jody, and we
How are you?
We live at 213 Madison Avenue, and we are here for our second appearance at the request of the board. Asked us to come back and respond to some of y'all's questions that came up the first time. And
Okay.
in the packet, I kind of did this in a Q&A format where we captured the questions that y'all had posed and we presented the answers with exhibits. And so I didn't know if y'all had had time to review those or whether there were any specific outstanding questions.
Since your last visit, I think we've all done some research, and it's probably my fault because I had just assumed that role. So, and looking on page 45, our guidelines have porches. And the zoning, talking to Katie Nunez about the zoning also has conditions about porches and screens. So we found nothing wrong with what you wanted to do since you removed the storm door and wanted to use a screen door,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, correct.
The only question that I have is you have a rail in the middle of your stairway.
Yes, sir.
How are you gonna handle that? Because that rail, I didn't get out and measure it, but it should break right in the middle of your staircase, to your door.
We had planned to just go ahead and remove, we had planned to go ahead and remove the rail,
Okay,
yeah. Because otherwise it would be hard to get in the door.
right. Does anybody have any questions?
I have one question. How is the screen fastened on the inside? Is it attached to the stone?
Yeah, well, he's gonna lay a board down. I think it's probably specified in the questions
Yeah, I think it's a
there.
concrete
More
anchor.
specific.
Yes,
Yeah.
Right, the
Yeah.
concrete
Concrete,
in,
it's gonna be a wooden, and we'll paint it, and it's gonna
Through
be
the board,
adhered
into
to
the
the.
concrete,
Mhm.
that it holds the board to the,
so the porch is concrete?
sorry.
The flooring in the porch?
Everything in the porch is concrete.
I thought it was wood, that's why I was
Yeah, yeah,
confused.
yeah.
So the
You have to do
majority-
it on the.
Yeah, most of it would not be visible except where the door frame will be.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure how it was attached, but that's fine.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. Number one, don't blame me for putting a screen in at all. I hate the bugs as much as anybody. Just aesthetically, when I saw the application, I just did a little drive around. I was wondering if you'd looked, and this isn't Amanda, it's purely a question. I was wondering if you'd looked at where you see the stanchions that come down through the the spars that hold the mesh. You've got them spaced at 3 feet as you've put in there. I did notice as I went around town. I mean, visually, there are some others that have actually put them at about 4.5, 5 feet apart, and it actually visually does look considerably nicer because it doesn't actually break up the front of the house as much.
Yeah.
And I saw another one that had actually used inside of the mesh, those spars that actually used spars that are the same color as the mesh as opposed to white, which again just visually breaks the front of the house up a lot. I was just wondering if you considered that. It was purely for aesthetics for yourself. It was a suggestion to have a look versus versus any complaints to what you've put
No,
forward.
that's a great suggestion, and I know that because we can paint, colors are not an issue with the board. I like that suggestion I never thought of that, coloring the spars to match the screen.
It hides it
Yeah,
in
it's a
behind
great
the
idea.
screen so it doesn't look like the front's being broken up by
it's a
spars.
great
It was
idea.
just a suggestion
Yeah, thank
versus
you. I like
anything
that.
else.
Katie,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
zoning is fine with this? Okay.
We will definitely take
good.
that into consideration.
Michael.
That's a good idea.
Picking up on the comment about aesthetics, I think one of the things that's concerned me is that you, just to your east, you have a sort of carbon copy of your place, which almost begs to have some of the similarities stressed, and the whole idea of a historic district is about keeping up appearances, if you will, and I know bug-wise, a while back, I was in Florida with my son, and the only place I could get reception, I participated in a meeting here, was out on the front porch, and well, I know about bugs, so, but and you know, you just had a sketch there, so, but I was concerned that, you know, you've beautifully decorated the back of that porch too, you've got shutters, and so in other words, the appearance from the sidewalk is the whole bit, the front and the back part and all like that. And if the screens, and again, I was going with drawing, you know, cut off the view of anything more than it'd be like almost putting a wall up that would make it look strikingly different from the house next door and kind of disrupt that whole symmetry there. That would be my concern.
I think you bring up a good point, Mike, and that is not so much wanting to look exactly like our neighbor, because I really don't. I like to have, you know, some different historic aspects and not be like in a
You got different steps. I know you got the
cookie cutter. But one of the things was when we were doing this was like I love our shutters and I love our front door. You know, they're all historic and indigenous to the time period of our house. And I was very concerned about, is the front porch going to take away from that? And then we're like, well, we don't really use our front porch because it's so buggy. I think we'll use it as really as another room when we have a porch. But in driving around and really looking at other porches, and we have walked the neighborhoods and walked to really look at them, like you really still get to see that. Like I think you're still going to see our door. Our porch isn't going to be. It's not a sunroom. You know, I think you're still going to get to see our door and our shutters. As far as our house next door, they have the same builder back in the late 20s, and they are similar, but also if you really stand and look at them, they're also very different. They've done a lot of work to their house, as have we. So they really are different, and they're the only two there that are. So I mean, I understand, and we're trying to make it a very subtle porch. You know, we don't want it to be too ostentatious.
Mhm.
Just kind of blend in. But
Well,
I appreciate that,
It's a-
and we've thought about that too.
I think as it pertains to us as a collective here, it's not about the ability on whether or not you can screen in the porch. It's clear that's in zoning, that's no issues there. I think it's just the compatibility of the materials should be our discussion.
Well, there's an awful lot of screened-in porches on your street.
And on Monroe especially.
Correct.
Yep.
So, the way I look at it, one more, and you have a beautiful home, and I'm sure it'll be done equally as beautiful to comply with what you're doing. So, I have a motion to,
I would like to make a motion that we approve to issue the certificate of appropriateness with the screen door.
Yeah, they would put that in there.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Build yourself a screen porch.
Thank you very much. You'll have a nice afternoon.
You too. We're at item 7 on the agenda. We have no fences. We have no renovations minor. And we have a modification to approve certificate of appropriateness,
None.
none. And we now have the renovation, addition, and new construction of 219 Mason Avenue. Anybody present?
I know Todd's here, I don't know why he's not.
I just texted
I
him.
just met with him. Cause I'm in 219, I'm in one of the offices.
Maybe he thought we would take longer than we did to get to it.
I just texted him as well, and I haven't heard back from him. I'm surprised he's not here as well.
Yeah, cause him and his builder are both here.
So if you would pause for 1 minute, I will try and call him.
Okay.
It's not even saying it's delivered my text message, so it could be service here in the building.
Do you think the meeting's somewhere else? He's been here already, right?
Yeah, he's been here
Yeah.
multiple times to this building. I mean, typically we started at 6, but I made sure I told him
No,
about
he
3.
knows it's 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard the,
What is on the
hey Todd,
end?
it's Katie Nunez.
What's on the end now? It used to be a clothing
No,
store.
where in the building are you? Over in the Civic Center?
Everything's empty, isn't it?
Well,
What
Yes.
page is that?
Hurry on down.
nine.
You're up. Okay. Bye. He's talking to his builder over in his building. So they are running over here right now.
Effectively the old
Do you-
theater space.
So are you involved?
No,
Not involved.
no, I'm just being displaced.
You're keeping his seat warm.
Paul, you want to
Well-
enlighten us?
If we want to wait for Todd, he should be here in like 2 minutes. He really is now running.
Okay.
We can take up other business and get those out of the way.
Okay.
Well-
Okay.
We will come back to this when Todd joins us any minute now.
Okay, let's do the report from interim zoning administrator Katie Nunez.
Okay, I gotta get to it, hang on. I just have one item to report that I did approve a roof replacement at 711 Tazewell Avenue, approved pursuant to section 8.16B. I did also want to update, I think all of you were able to attend the meeting last month where we met with the consultant. I think there was excellent input that has been received from the town relative to that work product so far, and they are rapidly still working, so we will be getting another round of product material for your review here within the next, like, I'd say by the end of the month, because I'm at, what, the 15th of February, so yeah, I think the next round will come out beginning of March, so I just wanted you to be aware of that, and so yes, that will be forthcoming to all of you to get your further input on that round of documents. We've also included, we do an annual report into the Commission of Local Government, and so that has been included for your information and review. I did want to highlight, because it's an important criteria, when you look at how many applications this board has reviewed during the review period, which runs from a fiscal year basis under the federal fiscal year, I should say, so it runs October 1, 2020 through September 30, 2021. This board reviewed 104 applications before you. We've done a lot of work. That's all I can say. I did want to note, when you look at those numbers, of the 104 that went through, 92 of them had achieved approval by the time we had to do this report. There were a couple, it doesn't mean that you actually didn't approve them all, it's just they were still in mid-process or midstream, so that's all that had been voted on at that point. I can tell you, not that I'm crowing for my own accomplishments, but why not? I think we have made some improvements to the process, and we've had, at least since February when I came on board, we've had no appeals issue move forward at any time forward, which I think is important for us to note, because we've really worked hard to ensure that we have a true foundation supporting any of the actions you're taking. So.
Yeah, I'd just like to say something in regards to that. I think the board has changed immensely in the attitude that we have towards the clients that come before us.
Mhm.
And with your help, I think it's, and of course Tracy is the backbone also, that
Absolutely, she keeps them all at bay.
Yeah. I would just like to thank them and you and Tracy and the town council, who's, I'm sure most of hear a lot of hearsay, but they don't pick it up.
No, I think we've done it, from a staff perspective, we've done a much better job ensuring your applications are more complete coming into you with
Correct.
all the information you need.
Correct.
And we are trying to advise them what the standards or guidelines are to help
I
come
agree.
forward in a way that you can really act upon.
I agree 100%. And I thank you for your efforts, you and Tracy both.
Absolutely, and I thank you guys for all the work, because as we just noted, done over 100 applications in the last year. That's a lot of work, so.
Is it fair to assume, is that just the application, that doesn't include the pre-apps? So if you looked at the agenda, we might be at 140 or 100.
Right, you might be higher with pre-apps, but this is just a single
Sure.
application coming out.
Okay.
There's a lot of them.
This isn't what you.
I'm just trying to compute how much time I've put into this over the last year, but.
You've done a lot. A lot. Granted, I won't say every application requires the same amount of work. A fence review is far less than a whole house remodel or renovation, or commercial renovation, which we're about to talk about next. But yeah, you've still done quite a fair amount, and I think that's also indicative of what's happened during COVID. There's been a lot of investment in interest in people maintaining their properties and doing work. And our office has been repeatedly impacted by that, in a good way and sometimes a hard way. But there you go. Okay, so that's it for the staff report. And I believe Mr. Bricken has now joined us. Woohoo!
All right. I did leave Frederick, Maryland this morning. It was actually early and then lost track of time.
You're forgiven.
I was standing there talking to the builder.
You're forgiven.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman, if I can walk you through the staff
Yes.
report, and then we will have the applicant come up and give his presentation from there.
Okay.
So we have received an application for 219 Mason Avenue from Todd Bricken for a certificate of appropriateness, and he is looking to do an extensive amount of both interior renovation, but your focus and approval aspect is relative to the exterior work being proposed. As part of his project, he is seeking to convert the second and the above stories above first floor commercial into housing units, into a total of 5 apartments up there. And so yes, there's quite a bit of work he is proposing to do. Again, the first floor would remain commercial, and he has revamped that as well. And we've been working with him since around mid-May when this project actually started, and he met with the staff and the building official, and we've worked him all the way through to get all the necessary permits and approvals, and this is the last stop in what permits and approvals he needs from the town. So with that said, we have given you a full packet of materials to what he's trying to do on the front component of the property in particular, because it is a substantial amount of renovation work he wants to do and rehab work. I've included a fair number of the guidelines because a lot of them touch upon what should be in the commercial components of Mason Avenue and what those structures should look like, and just to orient everybody in those conversations. So I'm actually not going to go into the detail. I'm actually going to leave that to Mr. Bricken to kind of walk you through the project, because he's very vested in this project and very committed to historic renovation, I believe, as well. And I think that's been evident in his application. But that is why he's here before you, to get further input, review, and conversation with you on this.
So stay here or go there?
Come on up.
You have the cover sheet that Bill signed here?
Yes, we did have a last minute addition to everyone. It's a
Yeah.
one-pager
Yeah.
of the material spec
Got
sheet.
that.
I just handed that to Brian, so I didn't have my own, but I just read it over with him.
If you need it, you can.
That's why I was late, because we were going over this to make sure it was understandable. So a little history on me. I did renovate 1892 schoolhouse to a restaurant. Ran that for 19 years, more or less retired 3 years ago. I want to move down here. I have a son in school, so we'll wait a while to be here, but I wanted a source of income when I'm living here. So this building would be hopefully on the first floor rented to one space, such as a restaurant or larger space, and then upstairs would be 5 units. 2 larger in the back and then 3 smaller in the front. As far as changing the view of the building, we really want to maintain what it is. I would like it to be a little more consistent from the first floor to the second floor. I mean, to me right now, it's just kind of a mishmash of materials. Whatever's, been the easiest for people to slap on there. So I do have an interest in renovations, staying with, what's consistent with the period. My architect is from the heart of Frederick, Maryland, which is a very historic Civil War era town. He does a lot of projects. He's done 4 projects for me, renovating my original schoolhouse property. So he's excellent at this type of project. I think you see the picture there of, I think he's done a nice job. As far as the first floor, we're talking about keeping more wood materials, more authentic, original material up top, out of view, maybe using a little bit of composite or AZAC or something like that, just for durability and, safety. Because you're gonna have a balcony and whatnot, I'd like to make it as maintenance-free and as safe as possible. Other than that, most of the renovations I think would be inside the building that would not really affect,
No.
yeah. So I don't know if that's enough of a summary or,
So the first floor will be all one open space.
we're hoping, I mean, it could be, original design was a possibility of like a 500-foot retail and a 3,500-foot other space, but I'm trying to find somebody maybe on this level of the project that could tell me what they might like to do. If I don't find that person, I'm gonna go ahead and do plumbing and electric and drains and such that would allow for a restaurant, because I think the restaurant needs restaurants, the town needs restaurants. I don't wanna run a restaurant, but I would like to build it for somebody who would, knowing that it's cheaper and easier now to put it in.
For sure.
So, you know, if I don't find this person before we start, we'll start anyhow. They'll have to live with my design, but I'd rather find somebody that would. So, yeah, first floor, I'd like to stay with one tenant. Mostly because it's a deep property, I mean, it's 120 feet deep and 40 feet wide. You wouldn't want to break that into 3 units or 2 running back because it's too narrow and too narrow and long. So I really think one tenant would make more sense.
Well, personally, I have read this and I'm very critical about everything that we do, and I couldn't find anything. I called Katie and said, I can't find anything wrong, which upset me immensely. So, I mean, you did a great job.
Good.
Yeah, I think it looks
I'm
beautiful.
totally impressed, and I was impressed with your written outlay of
Good.
what you're doing and the materials. Then we got this today, which is very impressive. I'd like to open it up to the board, though. You want to start?
Sure. Actually, to second what Tom said, by the way, looks fantastic. Done a really nice job on the plans, the design, etc. I do have one question on the aesthetic of the front, which is at the moment the building has cylindrical columns upstairs and downstairs. And the plan for the new implementation seems to be square columns on the ground floor, so on the first floor, and then maintaining cylindricals upstairs. I was wondering why architecturally you'd made that. I repeat, it looks great. I'm just wondering why the change between the cylindricals that are there now to go to the
Sure.
square columns downstairs.
Well, first, at the minimum, they don't kind of agree with each other. They're narrow at the bottom, and the second floor, they're wider. But I did look at the buildings like down at Parsons and the other buildings down that
Right.
way, and they are all square. And I think to me it looks cleaner and just more sharp. I don't know what to say. They just look. I don't know that the round was original to 1910. I don't even think there was a balcony there, or 1920, whenever the theater was. I don't think they had that balcony. So I don't know that architecture makes any sense to historical or not.
It was, as I said, more of a curiosity. I actually agree
Yeah.
with you. The current columns look wonky at best.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
Well, if you touch them, they move back and forth. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's steel inside of there anyhow.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
it was just a curiosity. If
yeah.
it was if
I just
if
like
it was
clean.
something you'd seen on it originally beforehand, or if it was just a.
You know, I don't know about you, but I've looked hours and hours online. I've only found like 2 or 3 photos, and they're kind of from maybe 2-3 blocks down. There's not really a whole lot of front-on photos of anywhere near that block. You know, I don't know if you found anything.
2 blocks further down is the theater, and they have metal.
Yeah.
Then if you cross the street is that's commercial on the first floor. They have metal. The hotel has metal.
Uh-huh.
So metal kind of keeps in trend with what we've allowed before.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have a problem with the metal. I like the wood, though.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. It would be wood. These columns
Yeah,
would be wood.
it's a wood clad, which
Yeah.
I think is the right way.
Yeah.
No, I think aesthetically it looks
Yeah.
looks great. I don't have an objection to
Okay.
it. Please don't take me wrong on it. It was purely a curiosity
I
on
mean,
the.
basically, I stood in front of Main Street and looked up and down the block and saw what was there, and I saw square columns down like the Parsons and the next building over. And it looked clean and nice to me, so.
It does, yeah.
And I like how it goes all the way up, the same, I mean, it's consistent all the way. Right now, there is skinny, fat, and then little, whatever you call those acorns at the top. I mean, there's no,
I think this is very
Yeah.
clean, good design,
good.
you know.
Agree. I don't
Martin?
have a dispute.
I just had a few quick questions. It seems like one thing that continuously gets us in trouble here is when we go along with refurbished as needed. It just refurbished as needed in here. Just a general, I understand how that's, I don't know what else you can do at this point until you really get into it, but a lack of specificity.
We're talking about the bricky thing?
It's on the scope of work, front elevation, ornamentation, doors, windows, to be, done as needed.
Well, to be a little more descriptive, I think we're getting rid of those windows because they're single pane and.
They're
basically-
plate,
Yeah, they're not nice at all anyhow.
they're plate.
And plus, there's only 2 windows, and then the third unit, I don't know what they did, they put wood or something in there anyhow. So we want to make sure those windows are consistent, but we also want to put in something that's energy efficient and more presentable. As far as the brick goes, we don't know exactly what to do with that yet, because I think it's partly painted, not painted, it's not consistent again. I don't know what, if the tan, we haven't decided if that tan color is paint or the brick itself, but I don't find it to be that attractive at the moment.
So you would paint it all? You would paint it all?
Unless I can strip it, I mean, if it's strippable, that's what I did in my restaurant. I took off the fake stone, stripped off all the paint myself. I mean, I have scars on my arms and chest to show for it, but, using the acid. I mean, I would either strip it down and finish it somehow with some kind of protection, or paint the whole thing consistent.
I think we talked about this on another building, stripping the paint, and that it would destroy the brick, the integrity of the brick.
We did
Depends on the
discuss it, but we
porosity.
were talking about the technique to do that
Okay.
versus power washing versus,
No.
you can't do
Can't
that.
power
It
wash.
would eradicate the mortar.
Yeah.
So we discouraged power washing,
No, we wouldn't do that anyhow.
you know.
It-
But it's really up to
I
you.
don't know what kind of mortar is on there.
It's probably the old
They
type.
used to oyster shell, but I don't
Exactly,
know.
it's the
I
old
don't know.
limestone mortar.
Mhm.
But do we need to specify now approval of either paint or refurbishing? Do we have to make that distinction? Because
You
he
do.
could go either way, yeah.
A couple of things, because in our ordinance, your guidelines say do not paint brick. But we do have several buildings that we have seen, the history where the brick has already been tinted. In the production of the brick, it actually was tinted these colors, which I know some of the colors may not be
Right.
pleasing today. We were uncertain if that's really the case on your building. Was it a tinted brick when it was produced? I don't think it was painted originally. I think
If
it
I had
was,
to guess, part of it's painted and part of it's tinted, or all of it's tinted and painted,
right.
to me, I can't tell yet, but I
It
think
looks like one side's painted and the other side isn't on the
What's the-
front.
Yeah,
I don't remember off the top
well,
of my
there's
head.
white and then there's like a cream color.
Cream
outside.
color.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you mentioned it in other places within the structure that looked like there was different colored bricks, some that had been painted, something like.
If I'm guessing, it's tinted and then
Yeah.
painted. So either I strip the paint or I paint it. You can't, I don't want it to be both.
Yeah, I mean, so the practical issue becomes if you strip it and actually the brick ends up being considerably
But do we need to specify
less
that
appealing
now?
visually
Yeah, we do.
than the paint, or if the brick's multiple colours, etc. To your point, it's an unknown. There's a risk to refurbing as necessary and giving the choice between the two.
I mean, the only thing
But I wouldn't like to force you into keeping something that's again going to be ugly on a building there afterwards.
I mean, we could do more research and come back later. I don't care. That's fine with me. I just don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it looks like the majority of
Is
it is
that-
painted, except for one little section,
Which is not very attractive.
which is not very
anyway.
attractive. And
Mhm.
so if you start taking the paint off and then decide you don't like the color,
So more
would you
likely
just
you
paint
want to paint it, right? Sounds to me like we should
Okay.
paint it
Ta-
anyhow.
Well,
Town, town-wise.
I think we
is
have
that
to
correct?
decide
Why
to
is-
now,
Well, I was
though,
gonna,
Do you?
or,
I mean,
Well, it needs to be a decision of this board
The painting is,
within the confines of your guidelines. And so, right now, and again, I can check if it's guidelines or zoning ordinance, I think it's in the guidelines. We indicate we don't want brick painted.
no, correct.
So if you're going to stray from that, we better have a clear thought process and documentation why you would
So-
encourage.
but doesn't it also say that
Allow
if it's
painting.
already painted,
Yes, and that's why I said this one's a little tricky, because
half
sometimes
and half?
we're having a hard time figuring out, was it stained within, when the brick
Yeah,
production was being done,
But-
or was it painted after the brick went on? And
Can-
we're having a hard time figuring that out on this property. I've had this in one other building here in town recently that we're trying to figure this out on as well, so.
Okay, so
I mean-
basically, what we're talking about is some of the brick is painted, we are assuming. The other part, we're assuming is tinted
We're
in the
assuming, yeah.
firing of the brick,
Yeah,
which would really be enameled.
I knew the register knew what it was.
It's enameled. So, I think what we have to do is decide whether, our guidelines say we don't want you to paint brick.
Right.
However,
If it's already painted.
if it's already, exactly, if it's already painted, rather than put you, to have continuity,
Mhm.
we have to agree that we should paint it.
Can we say painting is acceptable if there's no alternative?
Can you say,
Well-
can it just make sure it's consistent?
Pardon me?
Can you just use the term, make sure it's consistent,
Consistent
either
with-
or, either painted or not painted, but not both?
To whatever the part
Katie, what
that
do you
is
got in the
done to
zoning?
match that.
Mhm.
What
This is-
what does zoning say?
This is not in zoning.
Pardon me?
It's not a zoning.
This is not controlled through zoning.
historic district.
This is
Yeah, but
guidelines.
it's just the painting issue in the
So
guidelines.
Before you painted it, am I correct in saying that you basically have to, I mean, you're gonna have to remove the paint that's there beforehand anyway, so you're gonna see what's underneath at some point during this. Is it,
I'm not sure you do have to remove paint or not, my wife's more of a specialist, but I would.
The other question, though, half of his building, I think the bricks are fired with that glaze.
I would say all of it is, and then somebody painted over that.
Right, so we could decide by, if you took the paint off the white colored bricks, which they're the painted ones, right? Versus the yellower bricks, which I
Right.
think are enameled
I
fired.
think, I'm not sure.
It still doesn't answer.
So,
Can we make a decision on everything else and have him go research the bricks and come back?
Well, that won't hold you up, correct? Okay.
Yeah, the other, yeah, I wanted to check, this is, I was surprised, this is not a pre-application. I mean, it's not one of those situations where we can go back and come back with some information. We have to finalize it today.
You actually could do that. You have 60 days to take action on this application. So if you come out with additional questions or need additional clarification, you can table this for a month if that's what you so
okay.
wanted to do.
Okay.
Or you could approve portions of it
Approve
and
with the
ask for
condition.
additional information to come back
Yeah.
on other elements of this application.
Okay, then why don't we entertain a motion?
Well,
Well, I think we're still going through it. I don't think we're finished yet.
Okay,
other people.
So I'm hearing bricks, I've got those notes down there. And when I say this to you, Todd, page 52, and there are extensive comments about the masonry, page 52 of the guidelines goes through.
Okay.
It talks about unpainted brick and the best methods for cleaning it, how that should be treated. They discourage avoid painting unpainted brick surfaces. So we walk all the way through that, so it's not just one quick area I can point you to, it's the whole
Okay.
page.
Yeah, but if part of it is already painted,
That's the challenge here. That's why I said this one's been a little tricky for us to verify what,
you
What is
can't
the brick?
deny him the right to paint
Right.
the remaining brick,
well, this is the question.
can you?
We potentially could. But I think we are still looking for consistency as to how this looks on Main Street, how this looks within the block of buildings that are there as well. Again, just so everybody knows the history of what we're talking about for the public at large. This is part of what was the old hardware store. This is the annex component of the hardware store building. For those who have a little longer history in town, it used to hold the old movie theater in town, what was it?
Radiant.
The Radiant, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's some substantial history in this building, and trying to have it fit in a characteristic that makes sense with the other buildings adjacent to it is important as well.
I still think, I would like to make a motion that we approve what we can, and then have him come back for the brick.
Well, I'm hearing the brick is one that maybe we're gonna need some more research on. I don't want you to make a motion yet. I'd like us to make sure we've had the discussion on
Okay,
every
but we
element
can
to see-
approve a part of it.
Yes, yes, and I'll help craft that motion for you, yes.
Todd, could you tell me a little bit more about, and maybe this will help answer some of these other questions that have come up, but about the wood storefront, what your plans are, and there was another mention about new masonry openings.
So it would be painted wood. As far as masonry openings go, I guess we're gonna have to move doors because right now it's set up for 3 units.
Just to make
We
everything.
want 1 unit, 1 entry for the apartments and then 1 entry for the business.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have to change around.
So I guess my point being that,
Mhm.
is this going to impact these bricks in question that we're hung up on right now? Because when I looked at the drawings, you're gonna have entrance to the residence on that one far side of the building.
Mhm.
So
Well,
does
I
that
mean,
potentially alleviate some of this white painted brick discussion we are having?
I mean, I suppose anytime you get into this kind of an age of building, you're gonna have damaged brick too, that needs to be
Sure.
replaced. I mean, my last project, I think I replaced 1,200 bricks just for reasons of deterioration or, whatever was wrong with them. There is a substantial amount of leaking going on and damage from a lousy roof for how many years, I don't know. I mean, all these lentils are going because they're twisted, they're rusted, they're compromised, all that. So there's gonna be a lot of steel replacement anyhow, which is gonna disturb that brick.
Well, we're getting kind of tied up with that, it looks like the bottom right corner. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And based on some of the stuff in here, what I'm looking at is that might be completely redone, be out of the question anyway.
So realistically, it's not viable to leave it unpainted because it's going to be a
It's gonna be
mishmash.
gone.
It's going to be a mishmash of brick
Exactly.
types and colour schemes anyway.
Yes.
It has
In
to
which
be
case it-
consistent.
In which case, it would be better to mandate it be painted the whole way through versus
Like-
and get rid of this brick argument
I
altogether.
suspect most of that brick would be coming out
Yeah.
based
Catherine, does that
on
make sense
the
to you?
plans.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
that-
I don't think there is a whole lot of weight brick there because of the windows. Right now, we need to get all that stuff out of that 3rd unit to the right, and then it has to be made back in the window. So, yeah, I don't think it's gonna leave a whole lot of brick down on the 1st floor. Is that,
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think
to me, it's more and more sounding like
If
the
you look
decision
at-
should be, it should be painted in a colour that's in keeping.
consistent here?
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Between Herb's comments about enamel brick, etc., you've got too many different types. It's going to look horrible if you actually,
Exactly.
if you have it as exposed brick.
You can't get the color out of that enamel.
Yeah.
It's fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just needs to be painted in a colour that's in
I
keeping.
agree,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Good.
I guess,
Michael, speak.
yeah, a lot of what I'm looking at, I guess, is really what's taken up at the 9th page of staff analysis here, that there's, looks like nothing has been done yet for the conditional use permit.
Actually, no, it's been approved. The
Yes.
conditional use permit has been
It
fully
says,
approved.
assist the planning commission development of any motions regarding the conditional, the town
Oh,
council?
sorry, I copied from a prior report, that's all I did.
Yeah,
there.
no, that, it's all been approved.
That's my fault. No, the conditional use permit we have approved. The town council has approved his conditional use permit with the site plan and all associated zoning requirements,
Yeah.
including parking. All of those have been approved by the town. So they said, this is the last step.
Excuse me, aren't you on the planning commission?
That's what I'm trying to see. When was that done?
It's actually in
The planning commission recommended it, and it went to the town council at their meeting in December, and they
Okay.
they took action then.
Good
at
enough
that
then,
meeting.
yeah.
So, which-
So,
Too compartmentalized.
other than the bricks, were there any issues?
So again, if you guys don't mind, just so we're pointing it out as we go up the building. Since we started at the
Okay.
bricks near the bottom, let's go ahead and hit the storefront, the facings, because he's realigning the center door. I just want to note that. He's also changing the alignment of where the far right door would be, which is the proposed entrance to your residential units. And then I think you're looking to add, or not add, or shift the left door as well, farther left on the building. So,
I mean, it'll make it more even, I think.
right, I think you're looking to center the building more upon the commercial space.
You check out that
So I
window.
don't even know that'll be a functional door, or just be a space for a door, right? Because I don't think you want a door going in the middle of the dining room.
Right, so,
Again, we were, in the paperwork, we were 3 parking spaces short of resolving the
they
problem.
resolved all of that when it went to the town.
None of that was in here, but it was
It's
there.
not
but-
part of the historic district's review
Well,
responsibilities.
but, okay.
In the town council, yes, he submitted a revised site
Okay,
plan
good.
to comply with that condition of the planning commission.
Okay,
Yes,
We're working our way up.
yes, we're working our way up.
all right.
So,
Okay, could you,
go for it.
the 12 light door, the door with the 12 lights,
Where?
glasses, with glass panes,
It's the one that's there currently. That's there now.
does that stay?
No.
No.
No, that's going.
Look, turn on. It goes.
That's the
from this
existing.
To
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, that door will go over,
Right.
so you lose a window on the side, and the other door on this end will go over.
Right. This is,
I'm not trying to
Now.
belabor any points, I just want to make sure we're hitting all the key elements and nobody's feeling surprised when his work starts, that's all.
I mean, I think the design looks better that way, but it's not the original layout. So how do we feel about that?
Original to what year though is the question, because I don't even know when this started.
It's a contributing
Yeah,
structure.
okay.
I think it's a good improvement.
I think so too. I think it looks more balanced.
your sign,
That was just for
Yeah.
a placeholder, he's not coming to you right now for a sign permit.
okay, so it excludes the sign.
Right,
Yeah.
it excludes the sign, that was just to show what a sign visual could look like, but that's not necessarily the name,
No,
final
correct.
design,
right.
or placement.
So it's really not there.
It's not there, no. It would not be part of any approval, no. And we have noted that to him.
Pardon me?
He is aware that the sign is not
Yeah, I just
included.
figured why bother now, because I don't know who's gonna wanna come in and what kind of sign I want, we'll come back for that.
Right, okay.
I'll have,
So design versus history.
just so you know, I look for any reason to drive down here, I can. I look to come down here for any reason possible.
Well, let's see, I
Come
think
back
the
for the
fish are
sign.
running next week.
Yeah, I'll be back.
You're from Westminster.
Maryland, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's that, I'm happy to leave.
Well, they have an eastern
Why?
shore too.
Westminster's beautiful.
There's an eastern shore in Maryland,
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
and I know a lot of people that like it up there.
I like it. I lived there for 3 years in college.
Okay, so we've hit the foundation, we've hit the front, storefront, windows, transoms, columns, now we're up to the balcony. Everybody okay with that?
And the
Yep.
materials on the balcony floor are, I didn't see, was
I
that
would imagine they're not gonna be wood. I would hope they'd be,
AZAC or something like
Yeah.
that?
That was your point about reduced maintenance and things, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
especially with the kind of weather, I mean, a lot of rain and wind and.
Mm-hmm.
It's salt air.
Mhm.
I mean, that's actually been a consideration in the new
Guidelines.
guidelines. I think everything, the design on the second floor looks really nice. Are you gonna put the awnings back up?
We believe we will, yes. They're in the cover letter.
It's in the,
Yes, it's in the proposal.
proposal.
Unstriped, because right now they're kind of a weird green, white,
Right.
faded mess.
Mhm.
There's not a whole lot I like about the front of the building right now. tree fall under historic board?
Yep,
Okay.
well,
It
there's a
does-
tree committee.
There's a tree committee.
Well, and it also falls under VDOT responsibility as well, so if there needs to be some trimming or
So they
maintenance
could
on
trim
that,
it for me?
they
Probably.
may be involved in that.
And charge you.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of giant dead limbs over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure if you contact VDOT, they'll do it. They do the other trees in town.
Because it's between the sidewalk and the
Right.
street.
Which is their property.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the brick.
I think the only thing we're stuck on is brick, Katie.
I just wanna make sure, so again, he also provided us visuals for the rear. As I said, there's gonna be whole additions of some windows back there.
And
I thought we didn't have jurisdiction over the road.
I understand, I'm just making you aware, cause this now puts us with what are gonna be now residences up there, which prior there had not been that sort of use occurring in this building.
Right.
So no, I don't think it's not visible from the street, there is an alley back there,
Alleys don't count.
I understand, I'm just pointing it all the way out, so nobody says we didn't at least raise the matter.
Yeah, okay, and
the back apartments will have.
And then I did want to point out on the roof, just so we talk about that for a second, he is proposing a roof deck that is approaching near the front of the building. It doesn't fully go up to the edge of the building. And also on the roof, there's going to be a main stair tower encasement as well. And then there's also going to be a stair addition for some loft stairs for the back rental units as well, the back residential units.
will they be
An
visible?
exterior stair are you talking about?
I think so, yeah. I'm having a hard time
I
reading
think we
this.
might be getting rid of that
Oh, you are? Okay.
thing.
Well,
It's not in the last round of drawings you submitted.
Okay, I'll have to talk to Bill. I thought we were trying to remove
I
that.
don't think we're consistent. there.
Again, and I say this, they're not visible from the street. So I just wanted you to know
Alright.
about them, but I don't feel any of them are visible from the street, okay?
What would just to go backwards here, what would the front railings be? There's several examples of materials here, but I don't know if I just overlooked it.
ADA's Act, whatever you wanna call it, composite,
Yeah.
not
I think
wood.
that's,
Cause again, I
Do
mean, they're
list of
banisters that would
materials.
keep people from falling off the balcony, right? I'm not comfortable with wood,
Yeah.
not long term.
Is it updated on there?
You don't have an elevator.
No, 2 floors.
you've got AZAC on your list for the upstairs.
Yeah.
That's the one I want today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Katie, just for, how does this apply to ADA?
In what regard? So in
Okay.
terms of accessing the commercial
floor.
space, it will of course be in ADA compliance with the
Right.
size of the doors, et
Right.
cetera. In terms of the rental units above, he is not looking to identify any of them for a handicapped accessibility component. So he does not have to bring in an elevator for the second floor.
So it doesn't have to be ADA,
No, not for the second floor renovation.
as
First,
long as you
first
don't.
floor
Right,
is
okay.
where he's going to be in compliance. I think he talked about that with the building official relative to any restrooms down on the first floor as well will be ADA compliant. All your stairwells down there and the hallways, all of that has been addressed as well, yes.
Okay.
On your materials list, you've got windows and doors at second level, existing repair, prime and paint. So are you gonna keep some of those?
We hope so.
Because they're different sizes. The Branson windows are different on the new drawing.
Alright.
Is that a mistake?
I'm guessing so. Is there anything else that's consistent? I'm guessing he found
other ones will be the originals and just,
I think, yeah, he says repair as possible, yeah. Again, with doing some of that work with the steel up there, I imagine you might have to disturb some of that anyhow, and then put it back the best we can, right? Whatever kind of damage is already up there.
yeah. But if you have to replace any, I don't think you have any window
Schedule.
material list.
I thought he said something about 100 series, is that it? That's the
Okay.
rear,
So that's the rear,
yeah.
just those in the front. You may find like what I did, once we got in there and we started scraping them, it was all rotten
Oh,
under.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, and the schedule for the second level front, it doesn't indicate, what the new materials could be.
It just
It's
says,
just an assumption that the existing repair, prime, and paint of those windows and doors will happen on the.
it doesn't say as needed, it just says existing repair, prime paint.
Well, they're already vinyl, so they're not being scraped and painted. Just
They're vinyl?
FYI.
They are, okay,
Thank you.
You're
that
welcome.
makes a difference. Okay,
So do I need to make any kind of note there for him, for the architect?
no, if they're vinyl, you probably shouldn't have to replace them.
Okay.
You can keep,
Depending on how old they are, the rubber that holds the glass to the vinyl could be damaged from the sunlight and
Yep.
shrunk.
Yep.
And then you'll have air infiltration. So you may have a problem that may arise, and you may have to do something with them, but
And to your point, the
But if you do-
energy efficiency of a new one versus the existing is going to be,
Exactly.
it's going to be vastly
if you
different.
replace them, you need to come
Okay.
back.
yeah, you need to make a visit to Cape Charles.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, it's fine to keep them if you want, but if you replace them, we have
Sure.
to.
Do we have a sample, forgive me, of the awning, or what are you doing with the awning?
He's got
There's,
here,
there is one in there, yeah.
Sun air retractable patio awning.
And there's
It's like a
a
sunbrella
a
fabric.
picture of it in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's in the packet.
Solid color, not striped. Oh, this is yours, I took it from you.
I know you did.
So can I now make a motion?
It's up to Katie.
Do all of you feel you've raised any questions, issues, concerns with any elements of the design of the exterior of this building?
The only problem we have, which I think we resolved, was the bricks.
I think I have a way to phrase that in a proposed motion.
Pardon me?
I think I have a way to phrase that for a proposed motion for your
Okay,
consideration.
would you proceed?
Well,
I make a motion that we approve the plan, as is, with,
with the amendment, for the brick, that it be painted in color consistent with any remaining brick on the building.
and what if he decides not to paint it, but to take the paint off?
If he can retain it without needing to paint, he doesn't have to, or give him the authority to do that if
To
it
do
needs
it,
to.
in case he needs
Okay.
to.
Yeah,
And
so
that is not repainting all the brick, that
Right.
is matching what is there.
matching what is there, yes.
Like she said. And if you replace the windows on the second floor,
Does-
that we need to approve that.
And if I pick a color that's not what it is now, I need to come back to you again, right? For painting the brick?
I
Because right
don't
now it's
know.
white. If I decide that,
Everything has to be consistent.
yes, but you don't have a color that you would.
No,
No, we don't have colors. We can't pick or choose colors.
But that's, I think that's back to the point.
Right.
That you'd have to get
Brick.
approval.
The only way you can paint the brick is if it matches the existing, is that
Yes,
correct?
that's
Yeah.
what
So then that
we're
means-
willing to
So
agree.
it's,
A cream. The cream is, don't you have the majority of the brick, isn't it cream color?
No, it's white.
Or is it white?
Painted is white and the remaining is cream, yes.
This is white. Oops,
No, I do need glasses.
it's white. So the motion that,
Let's start again.
make a motion to approve the plans and issue the certificate of appropriateness with the condition that
With the condition,
if he needs to paint the bricks, he paint them to match the existing color.
yes, the existing
If he
color.
chooses not to paint them, that's okay.
That's okay. If he is looking to revamp the entire color structure of this building, that would require coming back to this board for a modification request.
So if bricks are already painted, you can paint what's remaining to match those.
Or remove the paint that's there to match what's not painted,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Basically.
Just to be 100% clear, that also means he has the right to paint all of them as long as it's the same colour as the bricks that are currently painted, yes? Because you don't
So to
want to
put
end
a
up
fresh
having to
coat
paint.
on it.
Correct, yes.
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 Yeah, I just
You
don't
just
want there to be
can't change the
you know,
colour.
I don't want to be any confusion that he's got to keep some old paint somewhere just for the sake of it.
Right.
Yeah, no, if a brick building in town is painted
I get you.
blue, they can repaint it blue. But if they want to paint it green, they have to get permission.
Oh, okay, so I do have to get permission to change the color.
I do.
Yes, true, Katie.
Okay,
Yes, just because I
Well, it
think
can,
it would,
but it
it would
won't end
be
well.
inherent upon us to be aware, and we are cognizant and giving that approval that we are allowing painting a brick, which would be really outside of our guidelines, and we would have to have substantial rationale to support such a decision of this board, to go outside what right now is the traditional look of this building currently.
So painting to match what's there.
Yes.
And the windows on the second floor if you replace, you have to
Okay.
come back.
And again, just to clarify for the record, the sign indicated in the design of this for that Cape Charles Grill is representative and not an actual inclusion for approval of a sign.
artistic interpretation for your drawing.
Correct.
Correct.
I don't think there are
Okay.
any other
Do I have a
additions or
second?
notations to be made.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Let's do a roll call.
Mayor, yes?
Lasser, yes?
Strube, yes.
Haugill, yes.
Tom, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. You did a great job.
But I have a question, if it's okay now.
You have a what?
A question.
Oh, go ahead.
When you mentioned that you won't see the deck from the additional rooftop deck,
Right.
you don't want to be able to see that from the street, is that correct?
Right.
When I looked at your drawings that were submitted, they gave me a roof line
Yep.
pitch.
Is there a recommended setback I need to adhere to, or, I mean, I don't know exactly.
Here's what we're provided, H5 in your drawings. Todd, oops, we're showing this. Sorry, and I just moved my cursor so you can't see it all. Oops, no, I went too far up, sorry. So I felt, looking at that pitch,
Okay.
where you'd be standing on the street, what you guys included in your H5 drawing was sufficient. That really is not visible.
But I want to maintain that,
Yes.
with a certain,
Yes,
so maybe before we start that, I should make sure you're okay with that too.
that'd be good, yes.
Do you want me to come back to you, or is it board?
When your drawings come through to the building office, I'll look at it again for
Yeah,
that.
I'll make sure we don't get in
And the
trouble.
key is just to remember, it's only the rail. It's not somebody standing on the deck, etc. It's the rail height
Yep.
that when somebody's standing on the other side of the street and they look up at the building, you don't want it to look like somebody's stuck an extra floor on top of the building. The idea is it should be, the actual structure should be invisible. People on the roof, totally different thing. But
Okay.
How high is the rail gonna be?
Whatever standards are, yeah.
What is,
He's gonna comply with the building code. I can't tell you what that is off the top of my head, so
Okay.
it'll comply with the building
I
code.
think it's 42 inches.
It's not a very far setback. A lot of my neighbours in DC have them. It doesn't actually set you back very far,
Okay.
but visually it
That
makes
is
a big
visual
difference.
sight line.
Yeah.
Makes a big
And you
difference
can-
to the
You
buildings.
can do that
He's-
by putting somebody on the roof, and you stand on the street or the sidewalk, and get him to walk back until you can't see him visually anymore, and that's your line, your sight line. You can do it very simply.
The rail.
The rail, not the person.
No, the rail, but you,
Right,
the guy can have a stick on
And they've included that calculation's been included in our drawings.
Just making sure I get,
Pardon me?
They've,
wanna make
they've
sure
noted
you
that
hear
in their
that.
submissions to
Yeah,
us,
right.
yes.
I was just telling how to do it.
Yep.
Easy way to do
They
it.
could see the water.
Yeah, it looks like they're on track for it.
all right.
Okay.
Think
Now
that's
to
it?
get ahold of me.
Okay.
I think we're all looking forward to seeing it. It's a really nice design.
Now you have to take Watson's Hardware next.
You know, originally it was one sale, I think, and I just didn't even look at it. I looked at that block where the sign is, that's what I tried to buy, and I missed that sale. And then we looked at the Kellogg building, but we were terrified going in there. I thought it was you ever been to Alcatraz?
Yeah,
I thought it was in one of the buildings at Alcatraz.
it looked like it.
See,
I think it's such a
I went to
cool
a boarding
building,
school in that condition,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I loved going through the Kellogg building for that
Yeah.
reason.
Speak highly, because that project will be coming forward to
No,
this board
I'm
very
not
soon.
against it. It just wasn't for me. I mean, my
It's a
wife.
lot of work.
I had to convince my wife to let
Can
me
you
do
say
something.
Spanish colonial?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, you know, I have a spouse, so I had to get her to okay something. So,
I was gonna say, if you didn't get her to okay it, I don't know how you'd do it, but let me know, will you?
yeah.
Well, thank you very
Well,
much,
congratulations and thank you.
you all.
Congratulations, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Good job.
Thank you.
And if I may, before we do a motion to adjourn, I do want to make you aware, we did start an enforcement action in the building and my department for planning and zoning associated with 420 Randolph?
Oh,
424 Randolph, with a demolition by neglect enforcement action.
oh, the one next to her.
Next to, yes. That is actually going to be on your agenda next month. As part of that enforcement action, we have required them to come forward with a plan of action as to how they're going to resolve shoring up that building, making it safe under the building code. And then there's a portion of the work that will have to be coming forward to this board for review and approval. So it's a little more nuanced than you typically are seeing because this is involving building official enforcement action as well as planning and zoning enforcement action.
Right, have we ever, just as a matter of conversation with that going to come up, have we found the fact that Cape Charles subscribes to the preventive maintenance code?
Yes, it's under the building code. That's his enforcement component. What the building code enforces under his provisions.
It just hasn't been enforced.
Right.
And so we are doing enforcement both from a safety perspective and demolition by neglect under the
But there's a
zoning
code
ordinance.
that prevents that I don't think we've really,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
There is.
There is, again, all of this takes time, staff, and attention to getting this work out there and working with property owners to oversee these elements of a building.
Thank you very much.
So I just wanted to make you aware, we're gonna have an application that's a little more nuanced than you guys have seen up to this point, just because
What's
it's an
the address?
enforcement.
424
424 Randolph.
It's,
Yes.
do you remember that duplex
Yeah.
on the corner? It's the one on the other side of
Okay.
it.
Yes. So I just wanted
Speaking of which,
to make you
whatever
aware that,
happened with the duplex? They haven't done
That's-
anything.
again, but they still have a certificate of appropriateness that's been issued, and they have 12 months to commence
Oh,
work
we
on it.
approved everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have 12 months from the approval to take action on it, so, and that
Okay.
12 months is not expired yet. So I just wanted to make you aware that one's gonna be coming forward, and again, the building official will be part of that particular meeting, and it's just gonna be, we're still working our way through it.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a
Second that.
motion.
Second?
Thanks.